So we're in.
Cool.
Thank you for joining me, Sam.
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
We're here at the Romford Film Festival. This is the BTS Creative Academy podcast. Here to discuss your latest film. So tell me, what are you doing here at the festival?
My film's going to screen in about an hour and a half.
Okay.
It's Remi Milligan, Lost Director, which is it's been described as a docufiction. Some people call it mockumentary, others docufiction. And it's about a filmmaker of trashy films, B-movies, who went missing in 2006. But the film actually focuses on his films and the behind the scenes of those films.
So, what are we calling this style of film? Is it it's not a mockumentary? A mockumentary?
Yeah,
would
I
that be
started
right?
describing it as a mockumentary,
Yes.
although at first I just said it's a documentary and then let people kind of figure out for themselves.
Yes, yeah.
Um,
So is there an element then that when you're watching it you don't quite know?
yes, yeah. Preferably that's how I try to share the film. Like it's a documentary, and then people kind of start piecing it together eventually that it's not real. But I've had reviewers say that it's closer to what they would call a docufiction. As pretentious as that sounds, right? Because they say that mockumentary has certain connotations or kind of tropes that people expect from it. And this film doesn't have those. We play it completely straight, straight faced.
Was that a conscious choice?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. There are some funny moments, but it wasn't intentionally that way.
I find that that's when it is the funniest, when it's true and authentic and real. So how did you get that out? Were the people in your film, were they all actors or were they real people?
Yeah. All professional actors. And when I first reached out to them, I basically didn't give any of it away. Because I didn't want them to kind of act. So, professional actors. We recreated all of Remi's films ourselves. We shot them. We shot them in the media of the time as well. So his first film we shot purely on VHS, for example.
Right.
And mini DV and right through kind of more modern.
So there
media.
it's like films within film here then? That
Yes.
You went through the whole process of making those films?
Yes, yeah. So there's 5 films in total.
Right.
And they go through the whole kind of genre gamut. So we've got, horror, we've got a detective film, a musical, and then something that kind of defies genre a bit, which is Satsuman, and the sequel Satsuman 2. Satsuman, yeah.
Satsuman.
Yes.
Tell me a bit more about that. That sounds interesting.
So Satsuman is a half Satsuma, half human creature. And he goes off to Japan, Imperial Japan, to go and meet his dad, who he's never met. And that's the kind of the crux of the story. It's kind of it's a coming of age film, really.
How did you keep stuff quiet from the actors? Did you not share scripts with them? How do you keep quiet what the process of this film is? How do you keep that away?
So we have a traditional kind of talking head setup. Where they kind of talk about their experience on the set and the films themselves. And with that, it was completely unscripted. So I created character treatments. They were 40, 50 pages long. So each character would, they'd have these character treatments and they would memorize their entire backstory. And then we would ask them questions. And they, would naturally answer according to what they'd learnt in those character treatments. Right. And then we had 10 mini scripts, one each for the 5 films, plus the BTS. So that's 10 in total.
It's quite a lot of work. You're making multiple films at the same time. Working in different ways, scripted and unscripted. There's a lot to juggle there, isn't there?
Oh, so much. But it was good fun because it gave us an opportunity to try our hand at different genres, use different media. Our cinematographer had never shot on VHS, for example. Right. So that was good for him and good fun, not without its challenges. It's a lot. It took a lot, and I mean, from the moment that I first came up with the concept to when we finally shot it, it was basically like 15 years. So 15 years in the making.
15 years is a big chunk of life, isn't it? Was it worth it?
Yes. Yes, it was worth it. Yeah, it was worth it. It was the only way I could really get a first feature out there on the budget that we had that made it look like it had relatively higher production values than the 25K that we spent on it.
How do you keep going with a project for 15 years?
Just masochism, I guess. No, I mean, it's, you know, I identified it as what the film or the idea that I wanted to turn into a feature. And then I don't really give up. And then, I mean, it took also 15 years because towards the latter end, we also had COVID. We had Brexit, which affected us because we have an international cast and crew. So a lot of them had to go back home to resolve their circumstances. So that impacted a bit.
There were world events that caused a few issues.
Yes,
which, you know, this is an independent film. So it's hard to fund yourself through those issues, isn't it?
Yeah.
It puts some challenges in place, doesn't it, when world events are going on?
Absolutely. It makes it almost impossible. And, you know, a lot of people have asked me that. And one of the things I did is, so I did like clinical trials, which is where you go along and you try out a new drug.
Oh, right, okay.
And
in order to fund this film?
Yeah, that alone gave me like 4K. And I, you know, self-funded in different other ways. I did all kinds of things to raise money for this film, completely self-funded. So yeah, you kind of just roll with the punches when it comes to indie filmmaking.
There's something in that not giving up, isn't there? There's something in that being determined that makes it come to fruition, doesn't it? Yeah,
and I think as well, once you've crossed that threshold where you've done so much work, you then, if you don't see it to fruition, then you've wasted your time. And I got to that point, and it's like, I have to see this through, otherwise it'll feel like I've wasted all those years.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, just push through.
Is there a point? Is there like a breaking point? Is there a point that you could give up on it, or for you personally, is it no? You're going to go through it. You're going to go through with this.
I mean, going back to COVID, I think that was the ultimate.
That was a
challenge.
moment for you.
Yeah, yeah, where, you know, when it hit, I thought, okay, we can't do this. This is a sign from somewhere that this isn't meant to be. And yeah, I put the project on hold, not just because of COVID, but just period. And then 8 months later, after the first lockdown, we shot the first part of it, but it completely changed how we were going to shoot it. We were going to shoot it in one block. Instead, we shot it in phases. So we shot 5 days here.
So those not giving up, those world events made you re-evaluate how you're making.
Yes,
the film.
Yeah, for sure. And because of it, it took a lot longer to shoot because we were, you know, jostling with the lockdowns. Yeah.
Do you think any benefit came from that?
Yeah, maybe. It gave us a lot of time to reflect on what we'd shot. It also, in between, I could carry on raising a bit of funds, which helped. So yeah, there were definitely some benefits. I mean, it was frustrating, but yeah, also I edited as I went along. So these short films, as soon as we shot them, because the way Remi's films appear in the film is they almost appear as like kind of trailer style, where it's like the most important scenes, and that's how we shot them. So once we had those in the bag, I edited them. So I always had something to do in the meantime, or I was working on the marketing plan or whatever. So yeah, I made the most of that downtime.
Was this whole 15 years period of making this film your only creative project, or did you go off and was you doing anything else in this time?
No, I've shot about, I've lost count now, 5 or 6 shorts. I've been working a lot in kind of advertising and commercials, that kind of thing. Obviously, those are the things that pay the bills. But yeah, creatively speaking, kind of honed my craft across 5 or 6 different shorts since about 2011.
Right. Okay. So there was opportunity to go and do other stuff as and when it. Like, did you keep? Was this a passion project? You that was keep niggling away at you that you had to keep going with?
Yeah, well, I knew that, and some people hate me for saying this, but that to be really taken seriously, I had to get a feature film out there, like as a ticket to show that, you know, I could do a full scale, you know, feature film, albeit it's 70 minutes long, but it's, you know, still a feature film. So yeah, I had to do that. I think that was the most important thing. So passion project, yes, but also it was kind of engineered as my first feature, really.
Was it? Did you sort of see it as like this would be like your calling card? This was this is the thing that's going to show you for who you are as a filmmaker. Is that what you was getting to with this?
Yes, 100%, 100%, and I hope that's what we've been able to pull off. I don't know. It's had some success at festivals. It's getting really good reviews. It's been picked up for distribution in the US and Canada. So yeah, we'll see. Time will tell.
How do you feel about it, though? Most importantly, how do you feel when you watch that film back?
I mean, I'm at the point now where I'm sick of watching it. So I've seen it so many times. Yeah, I've lived with it for so long. How do I feel? No, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it. Given the budget that we had and all the constraints and all the problems and challenges, I'm happy with it. Yeah, I don't really look back and have any kind of regrets or, oh, we could have done that. And, you know, one of the things that we wanted to do was there was supposed to be a sixth film, so there's only 5. And it was going to be a sci-fi film, which would have been a lot of fun. It was supposed to be like a really, you know, kind of Plan 9 from outer space kind of, you know, sci-fi kind of a space opera thing, and we had to scrap it. So that was probably the only thing, really.
Yeah. So what are your hopes then moving forward at this stage with this film? Where do you hope for this to go?
I hope off the back of this film we can secure funding for our next project. Again, you said you just used the term calling card. So that's kind of the idea. I don't know if this film will make any money or not. I didn't really go into, you know, making this feature with that intention. Again, it was the calling card. If it makes any money off the back of that through distribution, then that's a bonus. But primarily, it's to kind of cement. And I keep saying because I do have like a team of people that like regular kind of collaborators that we work on every project with. So, you know, there is a team behind us. But yeah, the main thing is to try and get funding for the next film.
And you going forward, what are your hopes and dreams? What do they look like? That is a big question. What does the big picture look like?
I want to get to a point where we're not, you know, struggling so much to get pictures off the ground. And I think I'd like to grow my company, which is Lodato Studios. I'd like to get that to a point where we're taking on other people's projects and figuring out what the future looks like, because, you know, there's so much coming down the pipeline. I mean, whether we're looking at how, you know, streaming will continue to affect films, AI obviously is a big talking point. So yeah, trying to navigate all of that good stuff.
Try and find out where you can fit into this ever-evolving, like the world is changing right now, isn't it? Within entertainment, cinema, and yeah, like you said, there's so many different ways that it could go. It's figuring out where as creatives do we fit here.
Precisely, yeah.
Yeah. So that is quite a big question to really consider, isn't it? Cause, because we don't know how the world is going to move forward. But ideally, it sounds to me like you'd like to be in a place of creative freedom.
Yep.
Is that right?
Absolutely. I mean, I had total creative freedom with Remi Milligan, but I know that for the next project that probably won't happen, because we'll try and raise money in more of a traditional way, and with that you have to compromise, and rightly so. You know, if someone's pumping money into it, then they have a say. But yeah, creative control is yeah, you know, an objective for sure.
Wonderful. Well, I look forward to seeing your movie.
Thank you.
I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds really exciting. It sounds like something that's right up my street. Where do I find it? Is there an opportunity for me to see it? Is there an opportunity for anyone listening or watching to see it?
Well, I mean, tonight you can catch it in Screen 2. It's on at 9:30.
Right, okay. Yeah, it's at the Rugby Film Festival.
Otherwise, it's not publicly available yet because of festivals. So hopefully in a few months. Do you have
social media that we can follow the progress of it?
Yes, yeah. That's just at Lodato Studios. So that's where we're quite, Instagram is one of our channels really that we really go for. So yeah, you can follow the progress there. Probably 4 to 6 months from now, it should be widely available. We're also aiming for like a brief theatrical release in the UK. It's also got quite a lot of traction in Italy at the moment, so that's promising. So that's something to explore as well. So yeah, the UK and Europe really.
Wonderful. Well, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing. And if there was anyone watching or listening, thank you also for joining us.
Thank you.
Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Wonderful.